Hello, I'm William Stewart. Welcome back to this verse-by-verse study on the book of 2 Timothy. Such a great book written by Paul to his disciple Timothy, who at this time was leading the church in Ephesus, probably written in the early 60s AD. And it teaches us so much about our Christian walk. In fact, it's part of one of the three books noted to be the pastoral epistles, 1st and 2nd Timothy, and Titus. So we covered last time the introduction, verses 1 and 2. So we're just really at the beginning. You're catching us at the right time. And then today we're going to cover verses 3 and 4. So the continuation of the introduction. Generally, Paul, after his introduction, will spend a few verses commending and thanking the church, the person to whom he writes. In this case, he does as well, expresses a lot of emotion. He says in verse 3, I thank God, whom I serve from my forefathers with pure conscience, and without ceasing, I have remembrance of thee in my prayers day and night. So he's thankful for this relationship with Timothy, and based in a life that he's serving in consistency with his forefathers, who really believed the same things he did, apart, of course, from Messiah coming, because Messiah had not come yet. So he considers himself most likely here a continuation of the tradition of the Jews and true belief looking for Messiah, and serving thus so with a pure conscience, as we all should, because we have a pure, righteous, true religion based in Jesus Christ. So without ceasing, he remembers Timothy in his prayers day and night. So that's important. We'll come back to that. We'll go to verse 4 here. Greatly desiring to see thee, being mindful of your tears, of thy tears, that I may be filled with joy. So he has this emotion to see him again and to know the joy of seeing Timothy again, and perhaps amplified by the fact that Timothy hated to see them depart or part each other, apart their ways. So this is all really nice. It shows they have a close relationship. And Paul prays for Timothy, his dear disciple. What's that mean practically for us? Well, we always have to be careful here, because when Paul mentions things about himself, he's the apostle. He's taught by Christ. He's the leader of the church. So there's some directives given to the apostle, which are special for them, like when he received the Macedonian call in Acts 16 to go to Macedonia and Greece from Asia Minor, so directly from God. But in most instances, what Paul does is a good example to us, and I think that's the case here. Paul gives us a good example of how we think about other believers. And that's really important, because sometimes people in the church can be pretty rough, maybe a little judgmental, and maybe automatically harsh towards other believers who think that they should be doing this or that, or can't believe they said that. But Paul is saying, hey, and my base action towards you, Timothy, is I'm praying for you. So it's hard to be too mad at somebody or too judgmental when you're praying for them. And so it's good training for all of us that when we think of somebody, good or bad, say a few prayers based in Scripture for them. Pray for them, end of Ephesians 1, end of Ephesians 3, Colossians 1, verses 9 to 11. Some good model prayers for us to pray for other people. But that doesn't mean sometimes we don't have to assess somebody. If they're really having problems, we spend time assessing them and how we can help them. But to judge them and just for the sake of making our own selves feel good, we should be praying for people and thinking of them with joy. And that's because God has saved them. God has worked in their life. Even in a young believer, God has created them. And we should be thinking of them, joyfully as much as we can. It's a real discipline. We have to it starts with our thoughts, starts with really being in Scripture, letting Scripture transform our mind, and then to think the things about others that Scripture wants us to, and then good things will come out of our mouth, good encouragement, good truth, healing words, helpful words. Okay, thank you for joining me today. Good verses, and we'll continue Paul's wonderful letter to Timothy next time. Please join me then.